Hello, so today I'm going to be talking about climate change, its impacts and actions, and my partners is Brisa and Daisy, and my name is Yolanda. And first I would like to start off with a quote. It's in a quote from Ban Ki-moon, who is the Secretary General of the United Nations. He quotes, "We are the first generation to be able to end poverty and the last generation that can take steps to avoid the worst impacts of climate change. Future generations will judge us harshly if we fail to uphold our moral and historical responsibilities." So I'd like to start off with what is climate change. According to nasa.gov, climate change is a change in usual weather found in place. This could be a change in how much rain a place usually gets in a year, or it could be a change in usual temperatures. It's also good to note that there are many natural causes to climate change on its own. For example, Earth's distance from the sun can change, but most scientists agree that humans are the biggest impact on the climate. So now we'll be talking about the weather. I think it's good to know the difference between weather and climate when talking about climate change because there are some major differences between them. And it's important to note that weather and climate are not the same. According to the NOAA, weather is a couple of events that happen each day in our atmosphere. Weather is short term and it pertains to a certain area. It can change rapidly and it's sometimes difficult for scientists to predict. And to remember, climate change is a long-term pattern of weather, so in a year. And when knowing climate change, it's also good to know the greenhouse effect. And what the greenhouse effect is, in our chapter 7 of biology conceptions explains the science behind greenhouse effect. Solar radiation from the sun that has visible light penetrates the Earth's atmosphere and warms the planet's surface. Heat radiating from a warm planet is absorbed by these gases, which then in turn the atmosphere throws heat back to Earth, and without this effect, Earth could be very cold. So knowing that the greenhouse effect is something natural that happens on our Earth, but the reason why this is important to note is that this heat that is being trapped under the atmosphere can increase with the use of gases, and these include water vapor, carbon dioxide, and methane. And here I put a graphic of the greenhouse effect and how each step that what is captured. The beginning of human contributions. So, as mentioned, climate change can be altered by human activity, and in the 1800s marked the beginning of the Industrial Revolution and the use of what we know as fossil fuels. During this time, an American scientist named Eunice Foote began to document the underlying cause of today's climate crisis. It was also documented by another scientist in 1896 by Nobel laureate started to calculate the rise of carbon dioxide. Another thing that this could also affect are the melting polar caps. So here I have a picture of Peru from 1978 on the left and of Peru in 2004. As you can see, all the ice is melting due to this heat that is being trapped, and it's making ecosystems, breaking them down and making some habitats unlivable. And in many cases, melting ice is a natural cause of consequences of a changing planet. And since most of us do not live in polar regions, we don't understand the impact of melting ice / permafrost. The cryosphere is the icy part of our planet that is interconnected with Earth's system. What happens in the cryosphere is a direct effect of what's happening globally. Scientists are currently studying how much the polar areas affect the rate of climate change. The gases that are being trapped in the Earth's atmosphere due to the increase of human activity. And also what's important is that the permafrost that is melting also contains greenhouse gases, which, like I explained during the greenhouse effect, this contributes to the warming of the planet and the changes that are happening around the world, as well as sea levels. And here on the right, I put a graphic of the global sea levels that are rising. And it's very interesting to know how one of the biggest starts of human changes was the Industrial Revolution. It was one of the most important things of our past, but started also one of the biggest crises that we may face.
For climate change in the present, according to the source, it claims that in the years 2011 and all the way to 2020, it was the warmest decade with a global average temperature of 1.1 degrees Celsius, which is above the pre-industrial levels in 2019. Global warming is increasing at a rate of 0.02 degrees Celsius each decade. Having an increase in temperature causes many serious negative impacts to the environment, humans, and all living things, and because of that, we try to keep warming under 2 degrees Celsius. And in the picture for this slide, it shows how it can affect people in our community in all the different types of ways. Why climate change is controversial still. As stated in OxfordHR.com, the climate change controversy results from a basic conflict between groups of different cultural outlooks. As scientific and reasoning proficiency increases, people form beliefs even more correlated with their cultural group, rather than more in line with consensus. The controversy of climate change is more political than scientific. Warming is being caused by humans in the scientific agreement. So this image shows what products and stuff can cause climate change, such as burning coal, oil and gases, aerosol sprays, air conditioners, and fertilizers containing nitrogen, and more.
Climate change in our future. Global temperature is projected to warm up by 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2050 and 2 to 4 degrees Celsius by 2100. We already see effects scientists predicted, such as loss of sea ice, melting glaciers and ice sheets, sea level rise, and more intense heat waves. Scientists predict global temperature increases from human-made greenhouse gases will continue. Severe weather damage will also increase and intensify. Effects on the future. Scientists have predicted that long-term effects of climate change will include a decrease in sea ice and an increase in permafrost thawing, an increase in heat waves and heavy precipitation, and decreased water resources in semi-arid regions. Future changes are expected to include a warmer atmosphere, a warmer and more acidic ocean, higher sea levels, and larger changes in precipitation patterns. The extent of future climate change depends on what we do now to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The more we emit, the larger future changes will be. The potential future effects of global climate change include more frequent wildfires, longer periods of drought in some regions, and an increase in the wind intensity and rainfall from tropical cyclones. Some ways to help climate change are save energy at home, walk, bike, or take public transportation, eat more vegetables, consider your travel, throw away less food, reduce, reuse, repair, and recycle, change your home's source of energy, switch to an electric vehicle. These are just some of the ways that we can reduce climate change and help preserve our Earth. Thank you.
In conclusion, thank you for listening to our presentation, and I hope that you take this research and do your own research on how you can help climate change in some ways to reduce our impact on the earth that we live on, and that is our works cited. Thank you.